So we've talked about the kinds of tools that young people are using to share music, to discover music, to learn about music, and tools that you can use in your work with them. I think it's also important finally to consider some of the tools that are available out there online which can help you just in your daily work practice in terms of sharing best practice, communication, sharing documentation, and so on. So I'm just going to rattle through a few very practical tools. Again, these are all very mainstream, and most likely many of you, if not most of you, are using some of these already, but I just want to put them out there as being hugely useful and back up my caveat of earlier that I know in each of these areas something will probably come along that will be iteratively better, and I say just go with it if it comes along, and I'm going to talk about that in one particular instance. I do have to start this off again by saying, Google, who we've talked about quite a bit, I'm aware, over the last half hour or so, Google are very strong in the area of applications and services which are very useful in business terms and which are very strong in terms of online collaboration. So certainly their calendars and Google Docs I think come highly recommended and very, very widely used and understood now. In terms of sharing documentation, a recent but nonetheless huge entrant to the market has been Dropbox, which enables the sharing of documentation and files generally of all kinds, including media files across different devices. And is very, very highly recommended as a way of syncing material you have stored in the cloud with your local device, such as a laptop or a desktop computer or even a tablet. I would say here that Dropbox was originally intended for people to share simply their own material between their own devices. It has become used more widely as a collaboration tool, but in its wake, there is undoubtedly going to be a number of cloud-based services which do specialize in online collaboration, and I urge you to experiment in that area. For instant communication, there's no question that Skype remains an incredibly a powerful platform for communication and collaboration, and I'm sure many, if not all of you, use it all the time. But really, don't forget, it's a professional tool as well as a personal one. More generally, I think the bigger social media platforms can be good for disseminating information in more of a, if you like, marketing context. And we have got to we've got to the 40-minute mark in this talk, I think, and not mention Facebook, but it is there, and it is a profoundly powerful marketing platform. I want to leave you with a thought about the ultimate online communication tool. And that's one which probably most of you will share at, and it's email. Email has gone from being something that I think all of us were astonished to have in our life at some point in the mid to late 90s, to being something which many of us, and I'm sure many of you, consider to be an absolute bane, particularly in professional circles. There's also a thought that young people in particular aren't using email anymore and are turning to Facebook and Twitter and so on to communicate with everyone other than perhaps their teachers and maybe granny after Christmas. And there is undoubtedly some truth in all of that. But with regard to those issues, I want to say, well, I think the signs are that as they grow older, young people use email more and more because it is simply very, very useful. And with regard to email becoming something which takes over your life and becomes more of a bane than a boon, I really urge you to look online at any number of resources which are talking about how to manage email inboxes and find practices where it turns back to being something which is hugely useful and not something which you dread every day as a duty. I think it's the most powerful thing, but it becomes powerful when you get on top of it and own it and don't let it own you.